I just saw Captain Marvel, the 21st installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the first one to have a female lead, but not the last because Black Widow will be getting her own movie pretty soon. I didn't know much about Captain Marvel before watching this movie, but I thought the trailers looked interesting and I got excited. Although I know not everyone was looking forward to it, especially with the controversy involving Brie Larson. In case you don't know, she supposedly said she doesn't like white men, even though that wasn't what she was saying at all. This quote was taken completely out of context, and people are making too big a deal about it. But anyway, now that I've seen the movie, I can easily tell you that I didn't really care for it. It's not a good movie. Given that this is the 21st MCU film, I have these certain expectations going into these things due to the standard that the previous movies have set. Compared to most of the other ones, this one felt very weak. It's nothing we haven't seen before, it just feels very generic. However, there are good things about it. The best thing about the movie was technically before the movie even started, and it involved the Marvel Studios logo sequence. I thought what they did with that was very great and emotional, and I'm glad they did it. But my favorite thing about the film itself was Samuel L. Jackson. As usual, he gives an excellent performance as Nick Fury. He has some great lines and delivers them perfectly. Not only that, but the CGI they used to make him look young is very flawless. I could not tell it was CGI, and I tried looking at it very closely. When having a character with a lot of screen time be covered in CGI, it can often go wrong, like Tarkin in Rogue One, that looked awful. But they managed to make it work here. Unfortunately, I feel like that's what they spent most of the budget on because the rest of the CGI looks like utter garbage. This becomes extremely noticeable in the climax, which relies heavily on CG. Another problem I have is that most of the characters aren't interesting in the slightest. The movie doesn't focus a lot on giving them development. Carol Danvers' best friend seemed like she could have been interesting, but we don't really get to know her. She's just there. The Kree are very important to the story, but again, they're not very developed. I will admit that I enjoyed the main Skrull, Talos. Both Ben Mendelsohn's performance and the way his character is written just made him an enjoyable character. It's weird because I thought he was going to be the blandest aspect of the film. Turns out he was one of the more entertaining aspects of this dull film. But then there's my least favorite character, Goose the cat. I hated this cat so much. It's not that I don't like cats, even though I really don't like cats, but Goose is just so obnoxious and took away the focus of certain scenes. And there were moments when it was a real cat and moments when it was CGI, and you can easily tell the difference. It becomes too much of a distraction. By the way, this movie goes out of its way to remind us that this movie takes place in the 90s. There's a lot of nostalgic references that they throw in, and there's just way too much of it. As for the action scenes, they're very underwhelming and not very memorable. There's even this one climactic battle where the song Just a Girl by No Doubt starts playing. What was the point of that? At least in Guardians of the Galaxy, the songs in that movie helped add to the tone of the scenes. Even in Thor Ragnarok, the Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin was perfect for the kind of tone they were going for in that movie. Hearing Gwen Stefani's voice during what should have been an epic battle sequence did not add anything to this scene at all and felt extremely out of place. Just like some of the humor, while I did laugh a few times, the jokes didn't entirely work. Some of them didn't make a lot of sense, like Nick Fury using tape for a thumbprint scan to exit a room and then tries doing that again later on, but Carol just blasts through it. That joke didn't work because Fury was well aware that she could use photon blasts as shown in the previous scene, so he could have easily suggested that she do that in the first place. But that's just a nitpick. Something that legit infuriated me was, without spoiling anything, how Nick Fury lost his eye. I can't believe they did what they did. They sacrificed what could have been something impactful for a lame joke. Oh yeah, I haven't talked about the main character herself yet. She is easily the most boring superhero in the MCU. Even more so than Scarlet Witch. It's not because I have something against strong female characters. My favorite Disney character is a strong female character. But the thing that makes Mulan more interesting is that she doesn't start out that way. We see her go through struggles and tries everything she can to prove to herself and to everyone else that she can be a warrior. She also has moments of self-doubt and we clearly see her emotions throughout her journey. Not to mention, she is very hot. The problem with Carol Danvers is that she is a Mary Sue. We don't see her go through any struggles. She masters her new powers very quickly. This makes it hard to relate to her as a character. I get that she's supposed to be the kind of superhero that girls want to look up to, but they don't really do anything to humanize her. It also doesn't help that Brie Larson gives such a wooden performance. She shows absolutely no emotion. She just has a dead look on her face the entire time. A recent example of a female protagonist who actually shows a lot of emotion is Alita. Look, Alita a Battle Angel is an absolutely terrible film, but at least the main character is very expressive. As previously stated, I wasn't a huge fan of this film. While not the worst of the MCU, it's still one of the weakest ones. Wonder Woman is way better in just about every possible way. It's actually entertaining and has likable characters. By the way, Captain Marvel has 2 post-credit scenes. The first one is pretty important and leads into Endgame, but the second one is honestly a waste of time. I can't be the only one who is tired of these movies having 2 post-credit scenes with the second one being a joke, like in Ant-Man and the Wasp where they showed an ant playing the drums. There's no point in doing that. But anyway, Captain Marvel is a very forgettable movie that just feels like filler. Very disappointed that this wasn't as marvelous as it should have been.